Okay, all good. Yeah, practice 4 in the books. Again, I thought it was a good day. I'm gonna give you guys a day off tomorrow. All right, you can kind of get out of the heat a little bit. Man, our guys are pushing through. Proud of them for the way they're out there competing every single day. We still got a lot of things that we've got to get better at, but those guys are really doing a nice job of competing out there. So I'll take any questions you got.
Do you have any updated timetable of when you expect Matthew to come back?
I do not.
Obviously, there are certain things you can't evaluate when you don't have the pads on. So what do you focus on in unpadded practices to evaluate guys?
Yeah, we're evaluating guys, how they move around. We're evaluating, do they know what to do? We're evaluating, do they know how to do it? And then we're evaluating whether they can execute it under pressure. And that's really what it's all about. And that won't change a whole lot in the pads. We'll just get a little bit more of a physical element to the game when that goes on. And, I think sometimes when you put the pads on, that ability to know what to do and how to do it kind of gets convoluted a little bit. And so that'll be what we'll kind of be looking for when we get back out there on Monday.
You said yesterday wasn't quite as crisp as you wanted it to be. Was today
I felt much better about today's practice. Man, our guys competed and battled. There was a little bit of back and forth. I think both sides of the ball had some good plays, and both sides of the ball had some things we got to improve on. But I thought this was a good spirited practice. I felt like, usually is when you get the first day with the fans out there. So I thought that was a good thing to have those guys out there.
Coach, offensively, you guys, it seemed like you're working on the ground game. Is that more or less to the running backs reps or offensive line or both?
Just part of the install. It's just part of the process. So we didn't work a lot on the run game in the spring, so we're getting a little bit more of that as we get in here to training camp.
It seems like Chris Olave popped a couple times today. Just how have you seen him progress since he's been here?
Yeah, I think he's doing a good job. He did show up for me today. I thought that was good to see. Ran some really good routes, caught the ball, did some things with the ball once he had it in his hands. So that was obviously good to see. But again, now the thing is, do we keep putting those things back to back? And that's what all these young guys got to understand how to do. And I think I think he's mature enough to handle that.
Dennis, along those lines, the bomb to Olave, is that a busted coverage? Because he was like wide open.
Well, look, here's the deal. Okay, so yes, it was. All right, and then number two is when the defense makes a mistake, we have to be able to capitalize on it and take advantage of it. And so that was, that's this game that we play. The game that we play really on Sundays, if you want to know the truth, it's a game of mistakes. And the team that makes the fewest of them and the team that can capitalize the most on them is the team that generally wins the game.
Was Mike Thomas a planned day off today?
Yeah, planned day off. Yeah, good to go. Should be ready to go on Monday.
Obviously, those back-to-back interceptions to start the day was rough opening for Jameis. What did you see from kind of?
I thought he responded the next two plays, and I told him that out on the field. That's what you have to be able to do. This game's not a perfect game played by perfect people, and there's going to be mistakes that are made, and how do you respond to them? I thought he did a nice job of responding.
You all have the fans back out here today. What makes coming to camp in New Orleans unique for Saints fans specifically?
The heat, number one. Look, and I've talked about this before. I think it's really about just the bond between this team and this city. And I think our fans understand how much they mean to us. And we certainly understand how much our fans mean to us. And hopefully, we mean the same to them. I think that's the case, too. So it's kind of a reciprocal deal.
How much are you looking forward to getting these guys in the pads and getting that evaluation Monday?
I think I said this yesterday, but we've had 4 days out in underwear, and now we get to play the game like the game's supposed to be played, and so I'm excited about seeing our guys get out here and play in that environment.
Hey Dennis, what kind of? I know Ramchek's just kind of like taking maybe some time away, but what gives you the confidence to kind of put Landon Young out there and let him get some reps on the first team? I guess we show you kind of your run.
Well, look, I mean, obviously a couple things. I mean, there's depth chart, and he's next on the depth charts and next man up philosophy. You know, there's gonna be some guys, whether it be guys coming off of injury, whether it be guys that, you know, maybe a little bit more experienced, that are gonna get a little bit of time off, and young guys are gonna have to step up in those spots and be able to perform. And so, you know, it's interesting. It's one thing to see, you know, when we're in a twos versus twos or threes versus three, you know, how a young guy's performing. But then you really get a good evaluation when now all of a sudden they're up against the ones, you know, or if you're working with the third group, now all of a sudden you're up against the twos, because, you know, that's the competition that you're going to be dealing with on Sundays. So, you know, last year he didn't get a ton of snaps, but the snaps that he did get were pretty good. And so we feel good about where he's at. All good? All right, thanks, guys.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Kind of hot out there a little bit.
A bit?
Couple minutes. All right.
James, at minicamp you spoke about competition and also not trying to replace Teron Armstead, but guys stepping up as leaders. Can you talk about kind of Jari Evans and his role and joining Zach Street, the former player, working with you guys?
Yeah, anytime you get a great football player that did it for a long time at an extremely high level, it's an awesome opportunity for everyone in the room and even in the building. I'm sure the coaches feel the same way. Just be able to pick his brain, to understand some of the techniques he's using, to understand his mindset when he comes up to the ball and lines up and sees a certain defense. So it's just another resource for us to get more tools in our tool basket to be able to use on Sundays.
And then just to follow up, how is working with Trevor Penning through the first 3 days?
It's been great. Every day he's gotten better, which as a rookie, that's the goal. I mean, that's everyone's goal, really. But as a rookie, you can see substantial increase from day 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and that's what we're seeing right now. So it's great. He's wanting to work, wanting to learn, so it's everything you're looking for.
How do you balance that, just kind of being happy for your teammate developing versus I assume as a competitor you want to play every snap as well? How do you kind of marry those two opposite?
Yeah, so first we're teammates, like you said, but I think it's two different mindsets. I'm always going to work as hard as I can on my craft. I'm going to focus on my deficiencies, what I need to work on. And then when I'm not in there getting the reps, I'm going to watch him and try to help him, because at the end of the day, if you have 2 really good left tackles, we're going to find a way to get people on the field. And obviously at times, we may have injuries, so we're going to need someone to step up. So whoever those people are, it's going to make our team better. And that really makes it easy when you have that kind of mindset about it of, hey, this is a team sport, we got 11 guys, but as we know, they're probably going to be 20, 25 different starters throughout the season. So getting every player to be the best player they can be before we play the Falcons, that's our goal.
What are some of the conversations you and Trevor have had, and maybe some advice you've given him, even off the field as well?
Yeah, I think right now there's a lot of volume in the playbook, so a lot is coming at us now. We've had OTAs, we've had minicamp to install that stuff, so it's not brand new by any means. But now that we're playing full speed, we're playing NFL football, he's seeing how fast things happen. And I think he's understanding, you've got to have something down in your head. It's got to be down pat, because you have 2 seconds before you get up to the line and the ball snaps, and then when the ball snaps, it's all done. You've made your steps, your body position's where it is, your hands are where they are. And so you need to know that stuff down cold so that when you go out and play, you're not thinking. You're just out there, you're reacting, and it's all muscle memory.
James, how much are you looking forward to Monday when you guys put the pads on and you guys can really get a good evaluation?
Absolutely, yeah, that's a great point. The evaluation for offensive line has to be in pads, and we know that. There's so many things that we can work on wearing jerseys in these shells. There's a lot of footwork, there's a lot of body position, that stuff shouldn't change. But then obviously when the pads come on, that's from contact to the end of the whistle. That's what we see. And that's where plays are made, that's where blocks are made, that's where the runs are sprung, that's where the quarterback has time to step up and make a throw down the field. So we know that's coming, and that's big for us, and obviously it's important. We're excited about it. It's real football for us.
James, have you talked to Trevor? Have you talked to Trevor when you do like one-on-one, considering the competition, the guys that we have against other teams, like Davenport coming off the edge,
Yep.
and you got Cam Jordan, you
Yeah.
got Peyton Turner. That's something that could be surprising to him, considering that now you can be in pads and doing that drill.
Yeah, absolutely. That's anytime you got the depth that we have at defensive end, it's going to make you so much better. And when you go to that first preseason game, I guess those first joint practices, you're going to see different guys, and I think then you're going to understand, man, we got some good guys on this team, and that's going to make us better. And yeah, it's going to be tough out there some days, and some days they're going to get the better of you, but come out the other side, you're going to be way better off for it. So we're glad for it. We know we got to fight through, but we know it's going to put us in a great spot come week 1.
Do you anticipate doing all your practices, snaps, install, everything at left tackle and not moving around? And is that different than, I guess, camps in a while for you? Or?
Yeah. That's what they've told me to this point. Different from years previous where I've kind of moved around and filled in different spots. So that's what I'm focused on right now.
Had you done that in any of your previous stops where you were a one-position training camp?
It kind of, yeah. Some years I have, some years I haven't. It really depends. There's so many variables. There's injuries, there's scheduled off days, there's things like that. But there have been camps where I've been a one-position guy. And there's been other camps where I've been moving around.
And how much does that change for you? I mean, I'm sure you don't try to have a different weight if you know you might be wanting to be a tackle and a guard, but I mean, how much does focusing on just left tackle help you hone your craft?
It really helps. You know, there's a lot more specifics that I can get into that I can study myself on film. I've got a lot of film at left tackle and game film at left tackle, so I can go back and look at things from last season and say, okay, hey, I can be better at this, or I need to work on this, and so that really helps me just hone in and get a lot more specific with my technique.
It might be way too early for this question, but like, is there anything you see from Peyton Turner that stands out that he's doing well?
Yeah, he's really explosive. I think from the first day, you notice him on film, just his get off alone, which is a huge attribute. I don't want to say that lightly. A get off is so important. It puts the offensive lineman in uncomfortable situations, and it makes our technique falter at times. So anytime someone can have a good get off, and then he's got good hands. He's always had good hands. He's a natural finesse with hands player. So you combine those two things, and that's pretty lethal. And I think, you know, once we get pads on, you'll see a more complete rush, run defense. You'll see all those things. But early on, yeah, he's looked great.
When you say it can make your technique falter, like what are some of the things that break down?
Yeah, so if a defensive end gets a really good jump off the snap, that in the offensive lineman's mind, he's thinking, oh, I'm late. So instead of staying square in good low body position, he might open up and turn. And once you turn, you're going to give the defender really a three-way go, upfield, inside, or right down the middle. So it puts us in a bad position. So that's something we have to focus on. We have to be off on the snap. We have to make sure we're off on the snap so that guy's never getting a good jump. And then we have to trust our technique and know that, you know, just because he's got one step on us doesn't mean we open or give things up.
James, what are your impressions of Doug Miller?
He's awesome. He's awesome. Very experienced guy. He did it himself. He's great to work with. We've had a lot of great conversation in the offensive line room, not only about technique, but about why we use a certain technique, against what style of player, down and distance. There's a lot of details that we're getting into early. I think it's really going to help everybody further down the road. So it's going to be great as we go along, and you know, we get into more detailed coaching, I think, and more detailed into game planning later in the year, obviously. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun season.
You got time for one more. James, anything stand out to you about Landon Young's game, or what he's learned just in the last year?
Yeah, absolutely. First thing is when he played at the Eagles. You know, first of all, I played through a big injury, which the team needed him to do, which was great. 1, 2, rookie year to second year, you always see, well, I shouldn't say always, you want to see a big improvement, right? Because they're used to the speed of the game, they know the playbook. So now it's how well can they take coaching, how well can they improve the little parts about their technique that's going to make them the player they can be. He's definitely shown signs of that already, so it's really promising. I know he wants it. He wants to work. He wants to get better. I talked to him yesterday. He's telling me he's watching Ram in front of him, and obviously that's a huge luxury to have a guy that good to be able to watch him and study him. So he wants it. He's in a great position. I know he's going to keep working. He's just going to get better and better. Thanks, guys.
I was going to ask a question. Since film study is a big issue that you need to study on, could you give me the example of how much time you spend in a week, or example, offensive line, the whole group, how much time y'all spend in the film room or outside off the field?
Yeah, so I guess as an offensive line, like as a unit, we've got meetings, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 hours a day, something like that. Don't quote me on these numbers, these aren't exact. But 4 or 5 hours of meetings as a unit together. Then when we're done, you know, we usually try to watch a cut-up of something of the opponent all together, no coaches, just players talking about what we're thinking. And then you go home and you watch on your own. And that changes from guy to guy, right? 'Cause certain people want to look at certain things. They study film. People study film a little bit differently, whether they're studying scheme or whether they're studying the person across from them. It changes if you're a starter and if you're a backup and you're playing different positions, so you've got to watch film differently. So that part varies a lot, and it's up in the air. But we've already talked about that with Coach Marone, and he's going to give us some advice so we can all have some similar ideas on how we want to watch film, things we need to look at to study. Yeah, definitely. So Coach Marone's talked about that already, and that's going to be good for us. Just give us some guidelines, some ways to watch film that'll help us for sure. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, James.
Hey guys, we're going to have Landon at this podium, and we're
Landon, what are you primarily focused on right now? Is it just like right tackle, or always the more you can do? I know there's more position, but what is your focus right now?
Absolutely. So right now, so far through training camp and through OTAs, we've been a focus on right tackle. Of course, that possibility is always open. Anybody who isn't on that starting five has to be able to play both sides. You have to be able to play jumbo tight end. You got to be able to play left, right, and maybe possibly even come inside. But this training camp was a big emphasis on really honing that right side for me. I've heard a lot of people and a lot of coaches say, you're a stereotypical right tackle. Like, you're not necessarily the body build of a left tackle, but you're more of a right tackle. Let's go ahead and get that side just as good as you can play left side, if not better. So it is an emphasis on right tackle, but that's still a possibility of switching sides, bumping outside, and playing some jumbo tight end too.
Landon, is that jumbo tight end spot, that sort of 6 offensive line package, is that something you all look at as an opportunity to compete and get out on the field as well? That's something you work on? Absolutely,
and it's something that it's going to be different this year because we have new coaches, of course. We don't know sort of how they feel about different things, but I know last year Coach Payton, he loved it. We ran a lot of 6-man offensive line on that field, but it was a good chance to get out there, compete, have another big body. That's our job. That's our job as offensive linemen, to get out there and get in these defensive linemen's face. And not saying that a tight end can't do it just as good, but it's another chance to get a big body out there, get a little more movement, and create a bigger space for those short yardage situations.
Are you all kind of preparing to see potentially a little bit less of that than what you've seen in the past?
I don't really have a comment on that. I really don't know. I know that it's still a possibility, still in the playbook, still something that we're learning, still something that we're possibly going to be going into some, but there's no true tell if we're going to be running a lot of that, if we're not going to be running it. So it's just, we're going to have to see here in the next short little bit.
Landon, when you say you've heard from coaches a lot that you have a right tackle build, is that because of your run blocking ability, or is that because of how you the kind of rushers you're facing when you pass protect? Like, what do you
I think it's a little mixture of a couple things. I think a little bit of it too is being young and inexperienced into the league. Coming into my second year, it is probably a better position on the right side than the left side. You got a lot of really, really good just freaks on the left side that come off that. You get freaks on either side, but they say my body stature too. I'm a long torsoed guy that still has long arms, and they said on that right side is just probably a better fit. Zach Streif played there, and he sort of mentors me in that position as well. And he was like, if we can put you there, be able to get you comfortable, we want you to be able to play both sides, right. Just like last season where I went in Philly, played left, and but starting off this season with Trevor coming in at left and me coming in at right, we have those backups that we can sort of focus on during that training camp process.
When do you can show the coaches beginning Monday when you put the pads on that you haven't been able to show without pads?
So definitely, it's not as much of just the technique, but more of an effort, and it is technique of actually being able to use it on a live body. So in OTAs, when you're not going against somebody and you're in just individual drills, like, you can show them that you can take the steps, you can show them that you can do it with speed, that you can do the right play, go to the right person. But when you're actually coming in Monday and we're actually going against this defense, then you're able to take that and utilize it against somebody else. So it's so easy to come out here on a field and be like, okay, give me a wide 3 pass block, and go and take that wide 3 pass block. But when you have somebody against you and you have that split-second decision, it's very hard to keep all that technique in balance. And so coming out Monday, and especially as we progress into pads, shells, everything else, it's really making sure that you hone that technique and that you are very firm in that technique, and you can show the coaches that you're coachable, that you can take what we've learned in OTAs, take what we've learned in just t-shirts and shorts, and be able to utilize that in an actual game.
Landon, how is Coach Brown? How is he treated? Like yourself, Trevor Penning, all that. Did he give you a nickname or something, or because he's pretty vocal?
Absolutely. So he hadn't given me a nickname. He hadn't really gave a lot of nicknames. He's a good coach. He definitely is firm on us, and a little different than years past. And every coach is different when you come up to him, but he's a really, really good guy, really good coach. And I think that he's been able to really take us and mold us into something better. And I think that it's going to continue to improve. But he is a very vocal guy, but a very, very, very good coach, and very we respect him. He's earned our respect.
Landon, did you make any changes, weight, body composition, anything, year two than a year ago maybe?
Absolutely. So, of course, I got hurt and was in that rehab process and through all that and then got back out right before OTAs and everything got cleared. I've gained about 5 pounds, so I'm sitting around the 330 mark now instead of 325. But I feel like I put it on in a good manner. I've been able to, like I said, train that whole off season here while I was rehabbing. So I've been able to work with the strength coaches. I've been able to work with the assistants in the weight room, the training staff in there. And so I feel like they've been able to let me put that weight on right and still be able to improve my speed and my agility in being an offensive tackle.
Landon, how much the addition of Matt Maria helped to impact exactly what you just talked about, that recovery process?
I think it's been huge, and it's been so different too. Like, I think that we had a good strength coach before, but this is such a different recovery, different strength process now. And you know, we came in and we started doing a bunch of single leg stuff. We were doing lunges, we were doing individual sided things and testing those individual sides to see where our lacks were, where our better sides were, and what we could do to help improve and even out those sides. So that was something that I thought was really, really interesting, because it's really focusing on, okay, are you deficient in your left hamstring or your right hamstring, and how can we fix that? How can we even those out to help stop soft tissue injuries and things like that? So I think that has been really, really great for the whole team to minimize as many of those. As you all know, he had so many injuries last year, and if we can do anything to help prevent any of those soft tissue injuries, it's going to be huge.
Landon, how much are you utilizing Ryan Ramczyk as a resource, and what have you been able to kind of pick up from him, you know, from this year plus of playing?
So Ryan, he's an awesome guy, and not only, as all you all know, he's a phenomenal player, and you know, a Pro Bowl player and or All Pro player, but he's a man of character too, and he is a guy that no matter what year you're at, especially last year and even this year, I can go up to him with any question, and he's going to be humble enough to sit down and walk me through that. Go out there and do that technique with me and help me out. Watch my reps when I go into a practice and be able to say, hey, maybe if you did this, it'd be a little better, or hey, remember to keep those hands up, or anything like that. So it's been very, very instrumental for me, because I'm very blessed to have someone of that quality and that caliber in front of me to be able to go out there and be like, I want to emulate what he does. I want to watch him. I want to be able to do, I may not be able to do it exactly how he does, but it's a good starting point to be able to, you know, go out there and say, I want to do it like he does.
And in some of the chats you probably had, have you picked up something where you've used it in the game or used it in practice and you've gone, man, that worked, like that, you know, thanks for giving me that piece of advice?
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things was, you know, watching him on his get off on the ball. So in college, I struggled with, we didn't really have a cadence, and then we came to NFL and we're jumping cadences. And so I struggled with that my whole rookie season, I felt like. And then finally being able to talk with him and work with him on that, because I saw just how he was always the first guy off the ball, always the first guy off. And I think that's what has helped him become very successful as well. And so he sat down with me and was able to talk to me with that. We went out and practiced it as well, and I think that's something that helped me a lot. I had the speed to get back there, but I have to jump it to be able to utilize that speed against some of these units. Absolutely, and it's always, you're going to have some sort of transitional period like that, no matter who you are. But like you said, Trevor, he's a super athletic guy, and he just has to. Sometimes you can hear it one way, but you need to hear it a different way. And that was for me. Like, I heard it one way, and then as soon as I heard it a different way from somebody else and a different process, it clicked. And every single person, that click is something different. And so my click may be different than your click is different than his click. But for Trevor, too, he's just got to be able to feel comfortable in not only what he's doing and what he's learned in the playbook, but also he has to feel comfortable hearing it from different voices on what he should be able to do. And so I think as soon as he does that, it's just going to come natural, the more reps he takes.
How have you liked New Orleans so far, and what has having the fans out here, you know, motivated you?
I love it, and I said, you know, the heat, it's very It's a lot different than being in Kentucky, but it's minuscule when you get to come out and do what you love every single day. The fans, the first time going in the dome and busting out of the tunnel and hearing everybody chant "Who dat," that was absolutely breathtaking. And I think that we have the best fans in the country, and it has been just overwhelming seeing all the support that New Orleans has as a football team. And it's just, I want to thank all the fans for that, because without them, we can't be out here doing what we love and what we're enjoying doing. So we really, really appreciate it.
Landon, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jarvis, do you recall all of a sudden, you look NFL history, have the most receptions, starting your career, and then outside looking in, and all of a sudden you see a guy like Michael Thomas breaks your record, and now you're on the same team. And it's pretty special to be that many receptions and being a part of NFL history.
Yeah, it's a great thing. You know, Mike has always been an extreme talent and has had an incredible work ethic, you know, and, you know, watching his career become what it is, you know, I'm excited. I know you guys, us as well, are excited to see him back out there.
Charles, you guys got a chance to break the monotony a little bit today, practice in front of fans. Just how much does that boost up the team after a couple of days of, you know, slogging through the heat?
Yeah, it still was hot, but you know, it was good. You know, the energy was there, even from, you know, driving up. You know, they had the welcoming party out there going on, and you know, you could feel the energy, you could feel the excitement around this team, and we fed off that a little bit today for sure.
What was it like being able to do that in front of hometown fans here where you're from?
It's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. You know, I hear so many people from, you know, Vacherie and, you know, Destrehan and all the places, you know, the neck of the woods that I, you know, my stomping grounds. So, you know, it was good to be out there and hear the excitement from the fans.
Jarvis, I know this is your first exposure to Jameis, but he's talked a lot about trying to improve his short area accuracy. What's just been your impression of him throwing to that area of the field so far?
Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty accurate. You know, obviously, you know, me and him, we've missed a couple, but at the end of the day, you know, we make sure that we stay after practice, you know, and that's something that, you know, his work ethic shows. You know, that's where his work ethic shows. You know, grabbing guys and staying after practice to make sure that we can hit those routes that we may have missed in routes on air or in practice, or if he just didn't get it and he wants to get it, you know. So, you know, he has an incredible work ethic.
Can you explain why that might be difficult, like, say, improving, you know, intermediate routes versus the default, per se?
I'm not a quarterback, so I can't answer that question.
Well, I just wondered if the wide receivers had perspective of that. I mean, I know it's a good question.
I mean, from a wide receiver standpoint, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. From a wide receiver standpoint, I think it's more about, you know, the angles that we're setting. You know, on certain routes that we run, once we set an angle, we're supposed to stay on that angle, you know. So for us, you know, whether we got to evade someone or change our angle a little bit, that can mess up the quarterback a little bit. So, you know, a lot of it goes hand in hand with not only with how the ball is being thrown, but, you know, what we're doing as receivers and how we run our routes.
Hey, Jarvis, you mentioned Destrehan. Have you talked to Kirk Merritt much, or kind of taken him under your wing at all?
Who?
Kirk Merritt.
Yeah, Kirk is he's going to be a great player. You know, he works extremely hard. You know, he has a great, you know, mindset toward the game. He's made a couple plays here so far that has flashed his talent and his speed, you know, and it's a long camp, but, you know, we're excited about the upside of the for sure.
Now, obviously, Mike wasn't out there today, but, you know, what has been your impression of him the first kind of 3-4 days of camp?
I mean, he's been present. You know, he's been present in meetings on the field. You know, he's a hard worker. Even when we get breaks, you know, we still with the receiver coach, you know, working on our craft. You know, and that's one thing Mike loves this game. and it kills him not to be out there and being able to fully participate with us. But, he's making sure that he's doing everything he can to be back out there.
Travis, Thursday was the first time you got to run routes alongside Taysom Hill. How much freedom does that give you as a receiver? And how unique of a player is Taysom?
Yeah, man, he was one of the people that I was excited to see. I know he's coming off an injury, so to see him out there running routes, putting his hand in the ground, making guys miss, catching the football, the way that he plays in space. He's definitely a guy for us that you would just consider an athlete, and that shows.
Does that kind of give you more versatility of routes, run, with Pete calling plays that kind of open the field up for you, having guys like him, Kamara in the passing game?
Yeah, I think the offense in general, has this this flow, that can have this flow, of where the ball goes, and but that's up to Pete, that's up to Pete, and also guys, proving it here right now, that they can be trusted with the ball in their hands and in situations. So we're all trying to prove that right now, but yeah, we got a lot of guys that can make plays.
Jarvis, D.A. talked about the level of competition out here, or making sure that he brings in competitors. What's that been like for you, just in terms of the competitive nature?
Well, it's a high level of competitiveness here in this building, especially in that defense side. They're talking, they're competing at a high level. I think that's kind of really the makeup of our team. That's what we want to do. We want to compete. We want to outwork our opponent now. DA does a great job of making sure he reiterates that, every time we have a team meeting, before practice, after practice, just kind of our DNA.
And you set the tone here, leading, your team in each season in reception. What's that like, bringing your veteran experience, and how are you able to help some of the guys like Chris and even like Mike, just any, this receiving core? What's that like for you, and what do you notice in this group?
Yeah, I think we all feeding off of each other a little bit. We all learning things from each other. There's a high level of vulnerability as far as just things that we've all been through, on the field, off the field, whatever it is, and you build a brotherhood and you build a bond throughout this time of being locked away, and it's only football, football, football. And I think our receiver room is gelling together through the history of the plays that we've made in the NFL, and also the young guys are stepping up as well.
Jarvis, with perspective, when you look at a guy like C.D. Deuce, now he's your teammate, but let's say the receivers around the NFL, what do they think of C.D. Deuce, like before you were a teammate of his now?
Yeah, he was one of the players before I got here. My mom was like, "Watch out for 22." He being here and being around Chauncey, and seeing the passion that he has for the game, and how much he loves life, and the way that he plays the game. He's one of the most competitive people that I've been around, and that's something that is contagious. That's something that you can see other guys feed off of, and that's what you want on your team. And I'm happy I get a chance to play against him, compete against him in practice. I'm getting better already.
The cornerback group as a whole, just kind of what stands out about those guys, the depth and the talent that they have on the depth chart?
Yeah, they got real depth. They got guys that can come in and play right away, play right now. I think the thing that sticks out the most for me is the versatility. You got a lot of guys that can play corner, a lot of guys that can play nickel. Even Chauncey, he'll go back to safety every now and then. So there's a lot of versatility in the secondary. All those guys have ball skills, and can make plays. So
a lot of those guys are kind of like long and physical, just from receiver perspective. Like that type of cornerback, like what's the challenge they present, just kind of in general?
Yeah, it's recognizing that, recognizing their skill sets, but trying to play to our strengths as receivers. We try to play to our strengths as often as possible, as much as possible, and understanding that, those guys they get paid too, and it's going to be challenging. They're going to challenge you all the way up into the catch point, you know what I mean? So, it makes us better as receivers, and by doing that, it makes them even better at their position as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it, guys.
Andrew, what's kind of the main focus for you going into this camp after kind of having some experience with this team?
Yeah, to take a step. Each year you want to develop and grow as a football player. So that for me, that's from the linebacker perspective, and from special teams perspective. Just working on my fundamentals in the linebacker game, growing with Hodges, and learning from tomorrow to become a better linebacker, while also still developing in special teams. Whether it's a few more tackles I could have made or whatever the difference is, and continue to grow as a team as well.
Is there like a specific area they're working with you on, like at linebacker?
Yeah, just continuing good inside linebacker play, run fits, coverage, but just seeing things, seeing offense. The play, the defense, so now you're able to pay attention to the offensive formation. You're able to anticipate what runs you may be getting. So just continuing to develop as a football player has kind of been my focus throughout camp this year, and trying to become more of a technician.
There's been a lot of changes in the secondary over the course of this offseason, particularly the changes at safety. How does that impact the second level for you all at linebacker?
Yeah, linebackers, we got to communicate with the D-line and communicate with the DBs. So it's definitely an adjusting period, but the guys grasp it quickly. It's fun to be out there with those guys. Everybody's flying around and having fun. So.
Do you see Coach Allen as a guy who stresses special teams, but also Coach Brazil? How big of an impact can you make on special teams? And is there kind of somebody who gets everybody hyped when it comes to special teams? There's a lot of people who bypass those guys.
Yeah. No, I would say our special teams leader is JT. He's our captain, and he leads the entire group as well as everybody pitching in. But yeah, having Dennis Allen and Coach Riz, kind of leading the team is very good for us. We learn about football. We're talking about small rules that most teams don't talk about. So it's very educational and also very intense.
How would you describe Hodges as a coach? I mean, it seems like every time one of y'all makes a play in practice, he's like sprinting all the way up the place and screaming it all.
Yeah. He's a good ball coach. He teaches you the game of football, but he's also a high energy guy. He's flying around. Before we hit the sled, he's hitting the sled to make sure it's ready for us and everything like that. So he's a great guy to play under, and he's going to lead us to great places.
Literally hitting the sleds?
Yeah. He'll go hit the sled, make sure it's all loosened up. We'll joke on him that he could have got a snap. He should take a rep for us, but yeah, so it's super fun.
You really think that's why he's hitting the sled, just to make sure it's
Sometimes you got to loosen it up. You got to get it oiled up, and then you come through and get it. But yes, sir.
What are your early impressions of rookie DeMarco Jackson?
He's good. He's doing good. Me and him I've been working some Will. He's been working some Mike, so it's good being out there communicating with him. He can definitely impact this team and be good for a long time to come. Sure.
Kind of a non-football question. A lot of players talk about the importance of their numbers. Does 50 have any meaning to you?
I wore 5 in college, and high school, so that was kind of always been my number. And so coming to the league, and then when I came here, being able to get 50 and wear 50 proud has been a cool thing for me.
And just the impact of the fans being out here.
Yeah, the fans being out there today, was super fun just to even hear them cheering, hear them roaring. I try to stay out there as long as possible, signing autographs and just meeting as many fans, taking as much pictures, because when I was a kid, I remember I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. My dad had season tickets to the Browns game, so we'd go out in Brio, Ohio, and go to their training camp and just, being that kid that the player walks away at the last minute and you never get an autograph. So I try to stay out there and be present, talk with them, sign a lot of autographs, and just had a good time doing that.
Who were some of the players on that Browns team?
Oh, it'd be like Dennis Northcutt and all those guys way back in the day. And then we also have the opportunity to, I think it's Christmas Eve, play in Cleveland this year. So I'm looking forward to that, just being around family, have my dad's, all my family at the game, and just enjoying that moment.
Do you see a similarity in the fan bases? I mean, Cleveland has an incredibly passionate fan base, and your impressions of the fan base here since you've been here.
Yeah, I'm all Who Dat Nation, through and through. But the Browns fans, they're a rowdy group as well. But yeah, there's nothing like the Saints fans and the Saints Dome and the atmosphere as far as just playing football in New Orleans. There's no city that can match that. So.
You guys sit behind the end zone?
Yeah, you'll be around right there in the dog pound. There's a couple pictures and stuff like that from back in the day in the archives. But yeah, so just being around the game of football my entire life, and then continuing to work throughout my career and to be where I'm at now is why it was important for me and special for me to take the moment to interact with each kid, ask them when their season are starting. So I enjoyed that.
Not mad at Travis Landry, are you? For the Browns?
Nah, I'm not. No, I'm not a Browns fan at all. I got no ties with the Browns. I'm all Saints. I'm all Saints. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. No problem. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.